Still using student employee example for encapsulation? It's boring. Today, I'm going to show you a real world example. This is what interviewer wants to see. Welcome to Automation Testing Crew channel. In this video, we are going to discuss a real world example which is related to UPI payments for your encapsulation. With step-by-step code explanation, I'll be sharing you some practice programs and interview questions related to encapsulation. Let's start with a real world example, UPI payment system. By the way, if you haven't watched my basic encapsulation video yet, I would recommend checking out that first. Link is in the description. That video covers all the fundamentals with simple example. In this video, I am going to take that example to the next level with real world implementation. Alright, let's continue. For real world example, I have considered UPI payment application. In our daily life, we will be making use of UPI payment applications for making some transactions, right? So how that works, we will be making use of the UPI payment application to check the balance so that you can check your current balance and we can send the money to the merchants and even we can receive the money from the other users. These are the basic operations related to the UPI payment application. In this video, we are going to discuss that how we can achieve these basic operations using encapsulation. Let's discuss how we can achieve this step by step. The first step is that we have to create a UPI payment class. I have created a UPI payment main class and this class has a main method. I'll be making use of this class for the execution. So let's go step by step. The first step is that we have to create a UPI payment class. Class UPI payment. In the second step, we have to create private variables and those private variables are bank balance, UPI pin and bank account number. I have created those three variables, bank balance, UPI pin and bank account number. Now, is it done? No. We have to declare these variables as private. So for that, I am going to prefix with private keyword. The same thing I am going to follow for all the variables. In the third step, we have to create public methods. So for which we are going to create public methods here? We have already discussed that the UPI applications that we will use, that is mainly for check balance, sending money and receiving money from the other user, right? We are going to implement this in the encapsulation example. Before going to the third step, we can't hard code these values, right? When we are going to get this value from the user, whenever we are going to register for the UPI application. So now how we are going to implement that in the programming, right? That is the question. So for that, we are going to make use of constructor public. So always constructor name should be the same name as the class name. And we have to accept all of these values in the constructor while creating the object. Bank balance, UPI pin and bank account number. So once after accepting these values in the constructor, we have to initialize that values to this variables. So for that, we are going to make use of this dot bank balance is equal to the bank balance. The same way for all these two variables. Now, let's relate this to the real world example. So whenever user is trying to register to the UPI payment application, so we are going to ask the user for the details and whatever the details he is going to enter, that will be initialized in the variables. Okay, cool. Let's jump to the third point. In our third point, we have to create method for check balance, send money and receive money. So for that, we have to create a public method. Let me create public void check balance. So this method we are going to use to check the balance. Now, whenever user wants to check the balance, we have to display the current balance of the user. So for that, I'm going to make use of a print statement. Alright, when we call this check balance method, it is going to display the current balance of the account. But can we check the balance directly? No, right? So what we have to do there? whenever you have to check the balance, first we have to enter the pin, right? That is the concept of encapsulation, and in your payment application, that is how it works. But in this case, are we doing any validation here? No. So how we can achieve that? That is what our last step says. In the last step, we have to add the validation logic. How we have to add the validation logic? Whenever you are going to perform any actions like checking the balance, sending the money to another user, or receiving it from the different user, first we have to ask the user to enter the pin. If the pin is correct, then only we have to proceed with the operation, else we should not proceed with the operation. That is how the validation works. Now the same validation we have to implement for your check balance method. In this case, we are directly printing the balance, which is completely wrong. So what we have to do, whenever user has to check the balance, we have to ask the user to enter the pin, and then we have to compare that pin with the existing pin which we have while creating the account. So I'll make use of if and else statement here. If the existing pin is matching with the entered pin, then only I am going to show you the current balance. Else, we will display you have entered a incorrect pin. Okay, let me explain you how it works. So we have created a UPI payment application. In that we have declared some private variables, and while creating the account for your UPI payment app, we are giving the necessary details, and then we have added a functionality for this UPI payment application, that is check balance. Whenever user has to check the balance, he has to enter the pin, and we are going to validate that pin with the existing pin. If that pin matches with our existing pin, then we are going to display the current balance, else we are going to show user that you have entered a incorrect pin, please try again. Cool. Let's execute and see how it works. For that, first we have to create object of UPI payment app, and in the constructor we have to pass some of the necessary details. So here you can see the suggestion. It is saying you that you have to enter the bank balance, which should be in the data type of integer, the same way for UPI payment and bank account number. Whenever we are creating the UPI payment app, we are passing the bank balance, PIN, and bank account number. Now, what's next? We have to check the balance, right? For that, we have to call this check balance method with the help of the reference variable. Let me call UPI app dot check balance. So whenever you are calling this method, you have to enter the PIN. Our PIN what we have used, that is 1234, and even I'm going to pass the same PIN here. Let's run and see the result. Okay, so in the execution we can see the current balance is 50,000, means the PIN which we have entered, that is correct. Now let's try to pass an incorrect PIN and check the behavior how it works. So it is telling incorrect pin, please try again. So this is how you have to add the validation part for your check balance flow. The same way we have other methods called send money and receive money. So I'm not going to create the methods. You guys have to try it out by yourself. I have a quick question for you guys. Which OOPS concept should I cover next? Drop the topic name in the comment and I'll cover the most requested topic. Now that we have understood how we can achieve encapsulation with the real world example, here there are some programs to practice. After watching this video, I want you guys to go and try this UPI payment app and implement the same way as we have discussed in this video for send money and receive money method. Along with that, I have added one more example called bank account. So in this bank account class, you guys have to declare these variables, and I have listed out some of the validation rules that you have to follow for encapsulation. Whenever amount is involved, you guys have to check two things. Okay, so first thing is that the amount entered by user, it should be greater than 0, and it should not be negative. That is the first thing you have to check. And the second thing that you have to validate here, that is whether user has the sufficient balance or not. When you have 300 balance, you cannot send 500 to another user, right? That is what you are going to check it in the first stage. Then for security validation, we have to include PIN for all the operations like checking balance, sending money, withdraw, and changing the PIN. Without PIN, there is no logic of implementing encapsulation. And there is only one case where we no need to use the PIN, that is when we are receiving the money. Simple, right? If encapsulation is clear now, comment understood, hit the like button and subscribe for more. Now, the most important part, interview questions. I have listed some of the most commonly asked question and important question related to encapsulation, like what is encapsulation, how to achieve encapsulation, what are the advantages we have related to encapsulation, and what is the difference between encapsulation and abstraction. So we are going to discuss how to answer these encapsulation interview questions in the next video. Thank you for watching this video. See you in the next one.